I'm Pasha Marlowe. I'm a trained marriage and family therapist turned neurodivergent and neuroqueer coach. I like the idea of neuroqueerness because it's not just about that intersection of being neurodivergent and queer. I like it because it's also like a philosophy almost of why do we have to label ourselves or put ourselves in any box or stick to any norm? Under that umbrella is not just brain differences, but people who live and think and move outside of what society would deem as the normal or right way to live or move or think. I don't know a neurodivergent person who doesn't see themselves as fluid in their sexuality or even gender identity. There's a fluidity and an openness to exploration that's always there, whether it's outwardly presenting in their lifestyle or in their own curiosities. It's always there. I always had a sense, and this is very common with neurodivergent, especially autistic people, I was born at the wrong place, the wrong time, kind of like an alien. Like I was dropped on the planet into the wrong family. I remember one Christmas when it was just my sister and I before my brother was born, and we were given beach towels. So I think I was maybe, I don't know, she was 6, I was 8. And hers was cool, it was a black background, it had rainbow colored crayons on it, and mine was stamps. I did not collect stamps, I could care less about stamps, and I remember thinking, why did she get the cool towel that looks all artsy? And what does that say about me? That the towel they chose was stamps. So I had a sense from the beginning that my parents didn't see me, all of me as a whole, or appreciate the creative side of me because I wasn't an artist in their eyes, because I didn't produce art in the way that I think they would have preferred. My art's internal. My art is in my emotions and my ability to see human patterns. People have been neurodivergent all along. The awareness is new and the world is changing. So people who were neurodivergent 100 years ago, let's say, or 200 years ago, probably were the people who were farming or moving their bodies and out in the land, and there was diversity in the movement, and there was urgency, and there was interest, and society doesn't accommodate people's need to move all day long. Society doesn't accommodate that for children who can't sit still in school all day long or don't want to. That's not how my brain was able to stay engaged in school. And so, the way we are now in front of computers and in cars all the time and on screens, it's further away from our innate state. And I think we're seeming like a more neurodivergent society of more neurodivergent people than ever before. But I think it's that our societies are becoming less healthy and accommodating to all people. People talk about high functioning and low functioning autism, and rather than like labeling a person or a human high functioning or low functioning, which is totally alluding to the fact that there's one way to be, like, oh, you're higher functioning, you're masking more like a neurotypical person. It's really demeaning and shaming and hurtful. So rather than saying a person is high functioning or low functioning, like how about a society is high functioning or low functioning, stereotypically, the physical presentation, for instance, of ADHD is this impulsive boy who can't sit still and jumps around the classroom. For girls, hyperactivity shows up as ruminations and intrusive thoughts and perfectionism and just like a constant thinking, overthinking analysis in the head. But you can't see it, so it's an invisible disability. So they don't get diagnosed often until much, much later, and often in midlife. Girls and women are socialized to be more quiet, to not express themselves, to not speak out against authority, to not cause trouble, be a good girl. And so from a very young age, girls learn to mask up, to play that role. And I don't think boys receive that as many messages like that. I can't really give a symptom list of neurodivergence, because neurodivergence just encompasses way too much. I could say with ADHD, there's the classic symptoms of time management issues and not being able to organize, having the rejection sensitivity, having social anxiety, difficulty prioritizing, difficulty sitting still, loving novelty, loving variety, thriving with urgency. You want us, like, when there's something like exciting and urgent and like different going on, then we're gonna thrive. But redundancy, housework, boring, so boring it's exhausting. And then rejection sensitivity is really big. There's a term, which I don't love, because it's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And dysphoria, I think, is more pathologizing. Nonetheless, this is the term they use. So there's rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is common in most all of my ADHD clients and ADHD people, where, let's say, you get an email and everything in the email is neutral or even favorable, but then there's one line of what I'd really like you to work on is this. One little teeny bit of either criticism or judgment or feedback or perceived rejection, that, like a spotlight on it, becomes really big. All their focus and ruminations go on that one comment, and everything else disappears. And it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and snowballs into, well, I probably shouldn't even work here. Well, I probably shouldn't be in a relationship, where I'm probably unlovable. And the rejection just takes over and really paralyzes them for often days or weeks. And when we can name it, and when we know that we have a heightened sense of rejection or a heightened sense of perceived rejection even from real rejections that have happened in our past, we can then manage it better. And we can say, oh, here's that part of my brain that focuses in on that one bit of criticism or judgment. And it could be very real criticism or judgment, but it hurts physically and emotionally at a level that's not typical. That's ADHD. Autism? Sensory issues are at the top of the list. An ability to problem solve, seeing patterns, like not just seeing patterns and wanting to like line up books or spices or toys in a certain way, but also noticing patterns in human interaction. A lot of people with autism become teachers and healers and therapists and helpers or artists because they are so interested in humanity. There's a strong sense of social justice in both, a strong sense of right and wrong and wanting to advocate for people. On a day-to-day basis, there's so much sensitivity and awareness that in a split second, a fire alarm goes off in my house. And I'm already thinking through and imagining, not just I need to get out of the house, get the kids out of the house, what if I don't? Which animals are gonna die in the fire? What's that gonna look like? How's it gonna feel? How am I gonna tell my kids? Where am I gonna bury them? You know, what's the funeral gonna look like? Who's gonna speak at my funeral? Like, how am I gonna find my social security card when I need it? What about the passports? Like, it's like in a split second, all this will happen. And I could say that in any situation. Somebody's driving their car and a car almost side swipes me. In that second, I'm already having the intrusive thoughts, the ruminating thoughts, and the fast thoughts of literally playing out what that accident will look like, should be like, all the things, the ambulance, the hospital, which hospital, who's gonna be there, all the things. And then that sensitivity and anxiety stays with me for the rest of the trip, or every time I drive. And that's not uncommon. It's partly a sensitivity, but it's also partly like really quick thinking brains and imaginative brains. I can't play laser tag. Like my kid asks me all the time, play laser tag. I'm like, you are shooting me. You are killing me. Like I am having a panic attack. I'm hiding from you. I've raised a killer. Like that's what's going through my head in a simple game of laser tag. With autism, there's a sensory awareness that's both a gift and a curse that makes it impossible to walk into a typical situation without onslaught of feeling other people's energy or hearing things that other people don't hear, or smelling things that other people don't smell, or sensing things that other people don't sense. And so it's it's tricky to walk into a grocery store or a party or an interview or a job environment and not feel like the world isn't made for us. And the only place we feel safe is with other neurodivergent people who also divert from society's norms, who also feel a lot and see patterns and have sensory overwhelm and deep empathy. There's an autistic trait that people talk about all the time where we can't make eye contact. And the thought is we can't make eye contact because we don't know how to socialize. But the truth is if we make eye contact, we are so sensitive and empathetic that it hurts, because it's like looking into, like I look at your eyes and I'm like looking into your soul and you're looking into mine, and I'm absorbing and feeling all of your pain and past traumas. So people think people with autism aren't empathetic, but it's the opposite. Does that make sense? There's this thing called double empathy, because another narrative is people who are autistic aren't empathetic. And a lot of people who have autism are nonverbal. So who knows, like people don't know what's going on necessarily in their minds. Now there's all these great tools and techniques to express and verbalize. But the fact is that it's like somebody who's autistic talking to somebody who's neurotypical, they're not going to understand each other. Somebody who's autistic or neurodivergent talking to another person who's neurodivergent is going to like spill over with thoughts and sharing and empathy. But it's always, the blame is always put on the person who's autistic to not understand how to do it. We don't do small talk. It's impossible. I don't understand. Like somebody who's autistic or ADHD doing small talk is like painful. If you're talking about the weather or sports or anything that's not like super intense or deep, it's almost like we have to shut down and mask up to endure it. It's like one of the more painful things. Eye contact is the opposite of that. I don't know. It's like a way to protect ourselves from feeling the hurts of the world, including the person across from us. Because we're already diverging from norms, we also don't like to be put in boxes or told what to do, where there's like a defiance. Like, don't tell me to go jogging every morning. Don't tell me to eat this. Don't tell me to work like this or dress like this. It's like almost like that's going to make us not want to do it. We don't like rules, and yet we need structure. So part of what I do coaching is like structure equals freedom. Like, let's find some structure, some routines, but more like routine options. Not like we're going to eat breakfast every morning at 8, but like at 8, we're going to have either, oatmeal or eggs or pancakes. It's good to have options and some structure, because there's a part of me that likes novelty and variety and newness, and that's probably my ADHD side. And then there's a part of me that needs to know exactly what to expect and how to prepare and what time things are going to be and who's going to be there and, what I should say. And that's my autism. So the two kind of clash, but they're also great friends. And there's things that I really appreciate about being both ADHD and autistic, mainly because ADHD has all the great ideas and autism doesn't. Like, autism's my follow through. It is a fine balance, because we do live in this world. And so we want to be able to live in it and stay safe in it. And this is why people masked for so long. This is why most people don't come out as neurodivergent until midlife, mostly women lately coming out, because it takes a lot of self-acceptance to break free from all those norms and to say out loud, this has never felt safe, or I've never been able to fully express myself, or I've been sitting still being a good girl, being a perfectionist, getting good grades, doing what I needed to do, saying the things, being a people pleaser all my life. And that, after a while, you break at a certain point. It just like accumulates. I think it's like a teapot, like it starts to boil over, and then things like hormones and menopause kick in, and this is part of the unraveling. There's this cool dynamic for midlife women right now who potentially have been masking their neurodivergence and probably queerness too, just saying, all their lives. And then they go through hormonal changes, their estrogen levels drop, their medicines don't work as well anymore. All of a sudden, all the systems that used to work don't work anymore. And in menopause, they're realizing they're not gonna make any more babies. And then they're also realizing, I don't know if I've ever really been happy in my marriage. This is like from a hetero-facing kind of perspective. And they're like, wait a minute, like, I've been following all the rules like of society to stay safe and to be good, when it turns out I'm a neurodivergent queer woman who doesn't even like playing with my kids sometimes. Like, there's this like reclamation that sometimes happens is really beautiful to watch, of women realizing there's so much more than wifehood and motherhood. And it's terrifying. They're like, well, who am I without that? Who am I if I'm not taking care of people?